Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. The weather has been disgusting, but what is not disgusting is this brand new Mercedes-Benz. This is the 2022 Mercedes-Benz C300. This is all new. This is the new generation of C-Class. This is the W206 for those of you paying attention at home. And Mercedes sent it over to me for about a week to test out and see what I thought. Now, I know the weather's gross and I'm doing this in a parking garage, so let's just take a quick tour of the exterior and the interior, and then we'll get on the road and talk about how it is to drive. So styling-wise outside, this is fairly evolutionary. You've got the little Mercedes stars within the stars on the grille, which is kind of a neat touch. I think the front end of this is actually really pretty. This color is called Starling Blue, which I really love. These wheels are part of an optional AMG package. These are a 19-inch wheel. Again, styling, just as you go back, is fairly evolutionary on this whole car. I like it. I think it's pretty tidy. I think it's going to age well. Now, before we hop inside, I have to talk about something I love, which is a good key. This is the key for this car. This is a new key for Mercedes-Benz. I really love it. It feels like money. It is very well done. This is your lock button here, and then unlock and trunk with your panic button on the back. So just a fun little anecdote there. Let's hop inside and talk about how this interior is. Now, this is your sienna brown interior, so this is kind of a two-tone with black and brown. I happen to like the color combo with the blue paint. Not everyone will, but they offer a lot of different options, which again, really like. Let me hop in, we'll show you a couple things. So first thing you may notice, let me turn on some lights here. First thing you may notice is the steering wheel. So everything is a touch button. We'll talk about how that is to work with as we're doing the driving portion, but you've got 4 different segments here for your different controls. This will control your main infotainment screen. This one is for your gauge cluster screen, all your cruise control stuff here, and all of your media stuff there. So I like the look of the steering wheel. It's kind of a nice, almost retro-y vibe going on. Over on the driver's door panel, you've got your door lock controls, your seat controls, heated seats, ventilated seats, and 3-position memory. And then looking down here, just typical windows and mirrors. You'll notice I'm in a slightly dark environment, and you can see the ambient lighting going on. You can do kind of a two-tone effect here. I love the ambient lighting in Mercedes-Benz. It's a very like a disco-y vibe, and it's very cool. Before we get over there, looking at the gauge cluster screen, this is one of several themes you can pick. You can choose from a few others with sport and understated, and it will also sort of change how the infotainment looks too. I've just been leaving it on the regular classic style because I like real gauges. But in any case, gauge cluster screen is kind of same old, nothing new for Mercedes-Benz there. Your wiper and turn signal stalk is over here, and then you still have the shifter stalk right here. I did miss for a while the auto start stop disable button, which is right here as part of your engine start button. That's just a little difference in where they put it. I use it because I don't like auto start stop in anything. But looking further back, this is the party piece of the interior. This is the new MBUX screen. You'll notice the entire center console is just a screen. And we'll talk about how this is to interact with a little bit more in the driving portion, but they have basically this setup that gives you kind of cards. So you can see I've got media playing here, I've got my phone here, and then this is the MBUX navigation. I can tap on this icon and that will give me kind of navigation bits. I can tap on this logo, which is just the avatar chosen. I can access some settings, and I can tap on the home button, and that will bring up like all the different main things I can go through and pick from. Apple CarPlay is standard on this car. You can have wireless or wired Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And then your climate controls are permanently displayed down here at this bottom section. I want to say quadrant, but it's not really a quadrant. These are climate controls. You can hit climate menu and you get a few more options as far as just like diverting air and turning the whole thing on and off. So this part in particular is pretty easy to use. We'll talk about the rest in a second. Looking further down, these are your only real hard buttons, and they're still kind of touch buttons. Your dynamic controls are for your drive modes, so you can see you can switch the car between different modes here. This is for your parking assist and parking cameras. This guy brings up all of your basic car functions as far as quick settings you may want to access. And then you've got your hazards. This one is an interesting one. This is actually a fingerprint sensor. It's not set up on this car, but you can use your fingerprint to actually it wants to configure it. We have not done that. You can use your fingerprint to configure all the car's settings. So if you're sharing a car, you can have multiple fingerprints stored. Seems kind of neat, but I don't believe you can use it to set up like starting and stopping the car. You still need a key for that. And then otherwise right here, just controls for your infotainment for volume. Now looking further back in the cup holder, there's a decent space here. 2 cup holders, you can pop out little doodads for smaller cups. 2 USB-C ports right here. The entire car will only have USB-C. And then looking further back in the armrest, same deal. You've got 2 more USB-Cs right there. So that's kind of your brief interior tour. We'll look just up real quick because the sunroof is pretty large. It goes all the way back. This entire front panel opens. This back one does not, but it still provides a lot of light, and there is a shade for all of that. And then only other interesting thing is just looking at these vents. They're kind of an interesting touch here. You can move them wherever you want, but then you can hear they kind of click back into the center spot. So just kind of another interesting touch. So there's a quick interior tour. Now let's talk about how this thing is to drive. Alrighty, let's talk about driving the 2022 Mercedes-Benz C300, starting with this drivetrain. So this is 2-liter turbo 4 with EQ boost, which is a 48-volt mild hybrid setup that largely just kind of acts as a generator and starter instead of a starter motor. But it does help allegedly a little bit as far as kind of like shoving the engine into the torque band, and you get 295 pound-feet of torque and 255 horsepower. It sounds like every other 2-liter turbo 4, which is to say it's fine. It's not really an exciting sounding engine. I think it makes completely adequate power and torque. It's nice and punchy, from just off idle to, through most of the rev range. So that is fine. The transmission is also fine. Nothing really to complain about. I think this is not tuned for sporty driving. Everything can be a little laggy in comfort mode. You do have your dynamic control here, so you can tap it and go into Sport or Sport Plus. And in Sport, it does get a little better as far as how the responsiveness is. The steering is pretty accurate. I wouldn't say it's got like the best feel in the world, but it's not bad. It's all very good, but with an eye toward comfort, even in the sporty modes. This is just not, it's not meant to be anything but like a cruiser, which is fine. But the one thing that is not fine are the brakes. They stop the car just fine, but the pedal has all this travel in it before it actually starts slowing you down. It feels like half the pedal travel is just dead space before you actually get into like the pads biting against the rotors. And that is like really, it's sketchy. It does not inspire any confidence. It's a little easier when you're at like highway speed trying to slow down, but when you're in city driving or very slow traffic and in a parking lot, stop and go, anything like that, it's really disconcerting. And would you get used to it? I'm sure you would. Do I find it surprising that Mercedes-Benz programmed it to feel that way? Yeah, because it's really not confidence inspiring at all. Do not like how the brake pedal feels on this. As far as how everything rides, I think the ride quality is pretty good. In comfort mode, it's a little soft for my taste. I wouldn't say it's wallowy, but it is a little floaty. Again, putting it in sport mode, that's more where I prefer it. Even even on a highway drive, like it's fine in sport mode to where I think it's a little more taut and it's not harsh or anything. So it fits the vibe of what Mercedes is trying to do with this car, which is to say it's just a cruiser above all else. It's a nice place to spend time above all else. It's not, a canyon carver compared to like what an AMG would be. So that's that. Other high points in this C300, the Burmester sound system, phenomenal. I have long thought at this point that the Burmester systems in all or most Mercedes that I've driven have been fantastic, and this one is. Really like it. I also like Mercedes ambient lighting. I know it's kind of like cheesy and everyone does it at this point, but I just think they do the best job of having like a discotheque interior with whatever colors you pick. It's just kind of fun. It's a little cheeky. But other big thing with this car is you've got this gigantic touchscreen going on here. This is a lot when you first get in the car. I've only got a week to play with these, and on day one I want to get in and go through and set up all my settings as if I were buying this thing and owning it and driving it forever. This is a lot to take in and to process when you first get in the car. Lots of customization, lots of menus to go through. This is an updated system versus the slightly older MBUX, just given the screen shape. This is in the C class and the S class, and it's going to proliferate everywhere else too. But they've updated the software. Once you get it all set up, it's actually pretty easy. I like how they've done it. The climate control is permanently down here at the bottom. It's a touch setup. I would still prefer buttons and knobs, but that's just me. But it works pretty easily. And then the gauge cluster screen is kind of the same setup they've been doing for a long time, which you can customize a million different ways. This one has a heads-up display as well. This is the loaded Pinnacle trim. And the heads-up display actually, when you're using the MBUX navigation, which I am right now, uses the heads-up display space really, really well. It's crisp, it's clear, it's concise information without being too much. So love that. Now I'm using the built-in navigation because this car connected to my phone just fine with CarPlay, wireless CarPlay, and did it for several days in a row, no big deal. And then today I went to leave where I was to go home, and it won't do it. And I've tried unpairing, repairing, turning the car off, turning the phone off, etc., etc. It just won't do it. So not sure what's going on there, but the MBUX nav is working fine, so that's that. One thing that is also less fine that I am irritated by is the steering wheel. I think it's pretty. I think it's simple on the surface. It looks really great. Everything on both spokes here is a touch control, and that's not new for Mercedes. They've done some things with little swipey D-pads and then buttons around them, but they were real buttons. Nothing here is a button. This is all haptic and touch and swipe, and adjusting the volume in particular, you only have two ways to do it. You have a swipey thing on the steering wheel and a swipey thing down below the touch screen. Both of them are infuriating ways to adjust the volume because they are not linear, and you're in a car, you hit bumps, and despite this riding really, really well, it doesn't soak them all up 100%. Of course, it's a car, and I have had volume kind of go and fluctuate as I try to adjust it every time, which really, really don't like. I don't see what's so bad about buttons. And this is an industry-wide thing. It's not just a Mercedes thing, but the steering wheel controls are really not to my taste. And then also with the cruise control, this does have the whole driver assistance suite with radar cruise and lane keep assist. This one will do lane changes for you if you turn your turn signal on and the driver assistance stuff is all running already, which is kind of neat. And this has the augmented reality feed where it's got a camera up here in the top of the windshield, and when you are set to change lanes or take an exit or something, it will pull up a camera feed and tell you where to go with street names overlaid if they're applicable, that sort of thing. So that's all really neat. Mercedes is doing some cool stuff with technology, and I think this is a very nice place to spend time. The seats are comfortable, the ride is good, the sound system is excellent. Once you're used to the tech, I think it's generally well done, minus the steering wheel buttons, or lack thereof. But the thing that I'm still having kind of a hard time with is I'm not entirely sure, given this car's price point. This is 62 grand, and this is almost fully loaded. So you can do them cheaper, but you can do a fully loaded a lot of other things for mid 50s, maybe high 50s for certain cases, but a BMW 3 Series, an Audi A4, a Genesis G70, a Jaguar XF, all of those are kind of competitors to this car, and they're all less expensive, and you can get similar options on a lot of them. And in the case of the Genesis, you could get a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6. If you don't want that and you want a 2-liter Turbo 4 like this, you can do that car for a lot less money. So I guess where I'm just struggling a little bit is the value quotient of this because 62 grand is a lot of money for a car the size of a C-Class. So that's my only real struggle, is putting this in context. Now, if you are dead set on a Mercedes-Benz, if you're a Mercedes person, I think this is a very nice car. So, you know, if you don't want something, say, the size of an E-Class, you like the baby Benzes, this is very, very nice for what it is. All in all, you know, I have used this car as a road trip car, primarily while I've had it, and it's been a very nice, comfortable place to spend time, and you don't get that in every car. So this is a very comfy car, enjoyable place to spend a lot of time on the road, and I think, you know, Mercedes deserves kudos for that. Where I'm really, the two things I'm really struggling with, price aside, are this brake pedal calibration and the controls on the steering wheel. Those are just like the two most difficult things for me to kind of wrap my head around. All right, and that's it for this review of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz C300. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Out Motorsports. And if you'd like to connect with other LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, head over to outmotorsports.com. We have a whole group over there. We'd love to meet you both in person and online. Until next time, please stay safe, be well, see you again soon.